Madam Chair, I'm honored and humbled to be here today to present for my first time since entering Parliament an initiative law. Today I have a presentation that I made an effort to try to explain as much as possible the motives behind the law, the purpose of it, the current situation that St. Martin faces, and the way forward. Of course, after that, I will be happy to engage in a discussion and answer the questions from members of Parliament as I seek the support of the honorable members in this legislation. Madam Chair, as mentioned, this legislation is the draft national ordinance allowing for the sale of the minority shares of UTS by the government of St. Martin. Today's presentation will be starting with a little bit of a background and some introduction to the topic. Then I will give a motive for the initiative from the perspective of the initiative taker, myself, a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis, I believe would be a good summary of how the law actually is put together and what are some of the salient points of the law. The legal framework of the law is also very important, I think, for members of Parliament. Also, the Council of Advice, their remarks on my initiative, as well as my response to those remarks, the opportunities for the usage of the funds as a result of this sale, if approved, the next steps that would need to be taken if this law is approved, because as we know, the approval process does have other steps beyond the approval here in Parliament. And I also wanted to, in my conclusion, point out a few learning points. As a new member of Parliament and the first time doing an initiative, I think it would be interesting to share with the members of Parliament my experience and with the public on what the initiative process is like. So a bit of a background. So UTS was established quite some time ago, but I want to start the background by really pointing out that at one point the decision was made to split the assets of UTS in such a way that St. Martin would have 12.5% and Curaçao would have 87.5%. In 2014, a motion was passed by Curaçao to have UTS find a strategic partner to take over. This effort was respected by the government at the time, and efforts were made to see if there would be a strategic partner that can take over the company. Let me add that this information is based on what was presented to us here in Parliament by the representative of UTS a few months ago when they were here. In May of 2016, the shareholders made a decision to go forward with negotiating a sale of the assets. When I say shareholders, again, this specifically means both entities, so the 12.5% represented by St. Martin and the 87.5% that was represented by Curaçao made a joint decision in May of 2016. We are going to go forward with a sale. So from that moment forward, the efforts to go forward with selling the 87.5% by Curaçao and the 12.5% had started. I would like to emphasize at this point that Curaçao, being the larger majority shareholder, a lot of the decision making in this regard was spearheaded by Curaçao. In mid-March of 2019, after a long negotiation, Curaçao transferred its shares to Liberty. This formalizes the sale in terms of Curaçao's side of it. However, the entity, the buyer, is actually interested in 100% of the company, so the negotiation has continued with St. Martin throughout this period. Interesting to note in terms of the key reasons cited for sale was the diminishing value of the company, as well as the need for a cash injection to secure the company, the workers, the employees, and the viability of the company itself. With that, I would like to move on to what the current situation really is with regards to UTS. As I mentioned just a while ago, UTS has been diminishing in value. As per the presentation of UTS here in Parliament, in 1999, the value was estimated as high as almost 1 billion guilders, 900 million guilders back in 1999. Fast forward to 2017, we see a reduction of even more than 50% in value of the company throughout that period of time. At this point in 2017, the decision had already been made that they would move forward with a sale. Even just 2 years later, the value further dropped to about 340 million just before the point at which the sale was finalized by UTS. This shows definitely that the current situation is that the value of UTS as an asset in terms of as an asset to the countries, Curaçao and St. Martin, has been seeing a diminishing value. Another point that I would like to share is the fact that revenues from telecom in the region are falling. This is a phenomenon, especially throughout the Caribbean. I won't go into as much details as to why this is the case. However, there's a lot of evidence to prove St. Martin, Jamaica, Anguilla, many countries have been facing difficult telecommunication issues due to the new wave of, for example, voice over IP, and the fact that telecommunication companies need strategic partners in order to enter the global atmosphere of telecommunications. Also, a reality in the current situations is that local jobs would be at risk without a majority shareholder having certainty. Let's say there was no decision to have a sale and the continued diminishing value of UTS was to continue for the next 2 to 5 years or whatever. It is very likely as a result of that the local jobs, both in Curaçao and St. Martin, would have to be at risk because keeping that level of employees would simply be unsustainable for the company. So therefore, indeed, the current situation without a sale is that local jobs would be at risk. The price tag could decrease at any time. This means that currently, without an agreement and without certainty from the potential buyer, the negotiation can become very fluid. That is another reality of the current situation. And finally, this is a current situation beyond UTS. St. Martin has urgent budgetary issues. That is a fact. We know that we're running through a deficit budget. We've gone through a very difficult financial time. And it is a fact that we do have to find ways to supplement our budget ourselves.
It's been said that behind every door, possibility awaits. How much possibility depends on which door you open first. Every day, we help our customers discover the possibilities in their lives. It all starts with a conversation. Scotiabank. Discover what's possible.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
We are following these days the discussions on the initiative law proposal to sell the minority shares of 12.5% in UTS NV of the government of St. Martin. What will be done with the funds coming out of the sale? The MP which initiated the law proposal suggests to pay the APS debt of government and to pay for the civil servants' pension funds and the police officers who are due with their function book that was approved. All MPs have been commending MP Rolando Bryson for the effort he made to prepare a law proposal to sell out assets from the people. As Anti-Poverty Platform Consumer Coalition, We also commend the MP for his example and the trend he set to come up with initiative law proposals as a member of the legislative branch. We are looking forward to more initiative laws of all MPs to increase the social pensions, the social allowances, and the social tariffs in our society. Where do we differ now with the good MP? The young MP wants to sell part of the assets of the people of St. Martin that they have in UTS NV to benefit the APS, a civil servants pension fund, and a category of civil servants, the police officers who are finalizing the process to implement their new function book. If it is true that there will be no positive return on an investment in keeping the UTS shares, then selling them should be to the highest bidder. That might be a solution. But who has to benefit from the people's assets sold when the money comes in? Shouldn't it be the people? Shouldn't it be first and foremost the poor and needy households in our society? For instance, why the funds of such a sale cannot be allocated to social housing construction and investments for the poor and the needy households? We understand that the proposal is to sell the shares of the St. Martin government to the company that bought the shares from the majority shareholder, the government of Curaçao. If the company bought the shares from the government of Curaçao, it must have been because they saw the profitability of investing in UTS NV. So why not considering for TLM NV to acquire those shares from the government of St. Martin in the UTS, so becoming a strategic partner in the profitable UTS NV? The return of investment in those shares can then provide TLM with more revenues, which can then lower the tariffs that we have to pay for TLM services, as for instance, expensive internet, mobile phone services. It is still not too late to look into this option to involve TLM NV in the discussions of participating in UTS NV. Maybe the good MP can consider this option too in his correspondence with government and his explanations in Parliament. We anyway applaud the initiative MP Bryson to think creatively and out of the box. And we hope that the MPs will consider to benefit the poor and the needy in the first place.
Hey ma, how you doing? You busy?
I hear, just paying some bills, taking care of business, you know what it is?
I know, you're doing your online banking.
I don't have to stand in those long lines to pay bills. I can transfer when I want. I can check my account wherever. It's like the bank open 24/7. I even here checking the statement right now as we're talking. How's Miami?
Well, that's why I'm calling. I'm finishing up a few songs now. but I'm afraid that studio time might be more than I thought. And I was wondering if I could get some help with some funds, and I could pay you back as soon as I get back to St. Martin.
Let me check my account. How much you need?
I think 500 should be enough.
I can transfer it to you while online. Direct from me to you. No problem.
Great. Thank you so much, Ma. I'll get online with Viv now.
Alright, darling. You know who you're for?
I need to know who you're for.
Contact WIB today for your complete personal online banking experience. Available for all mobile devices. The Wynwood Islands Bank, now your online banking partner in progress.
Who you're for.
To discuss with school boards that are experiencing difficulties in meeting their financial obligations. This is with the expectation of audited accountability of subsidy that was already received and used by the school boards. Just a clarification on vacation salaries. I would like to state, for clarity's sake, that the information that was published earlier this week in the media concerning vacation allowances is an inaccurate representation of the current situation. That the school boards, and as a result, that the schools and staff find themselves in. The government, through the lump sum system, covers all costs that are associated with personnel expenses. This includes all salaries linked to the functions listed in the function book as laid down in the Education Remuneration Decree, including the vacation salary. It must be stated that although government subsidizes school boards for the provision of education, school boards as private entities and as employers of personnel remain responsible for the proper management of allotted funds in such a way as to meet their basic obligations to their employees. We must at all times be very mindful that the taxpayers' money must be spent wisely by government and by extension by those who receive funds or subsidies from the government. Subsidized funds should be carefully accounted for and used for what they are allocated for. For this reason, the vacation allowances of teachers and school staff should be paid by all subsidized school boards as scheduled, because included in the subsidies that school boards receive is also the vacation allowance for teachers and for the school staff. The National Decree on the school subsidy system was published on the government information page on Monday, June 3rd, 2019. An allowance of 7 weeks is provided for the ordinance to be reviewed by the Office of the Ombudsman before its enactment. With the publication of this national decree, the ordinance will go into enforcement on July 4th, 2019, ahead of the opening of the school year 2019-2020. Let me publicly extend congratulations to the team of the Department of Education, who worked with great motivation, who worked tirelessly and enthusiastically over the last couple of years to complete the national decree containing general measures with regard to the funding of education. I'm extremely proud of each one of them and the sacrifices that they made towards the finalization of this legislation. I also want to thank here all previous ministers of education who started and continued the process to get this legislation to where it is today, and for which I was fortunate to have been the one to be able to finalize it. With this piece of legislation, we hope to be able to have a better grip
on the financing of our schools.
Hello, St. Martin. My name is Stephanie Medina, and I play football with the Walichi Women's Soccer team. I have represented St. Martin in many different games. For example, the Dutch Caribbean Women's Soccer Cup. I played against Bonaire, Aruba, and Curacao right here in this stadium. Sports matter to me because it makes me happy, it keeps me fit and healthy, and it is very fun. So I asked the business community to take on this challenge and help us rebuild our facilities. And I also asked the community to nominate the local businesses in your area and take on the challenge and step up for sport. Why? Because sports matter. Check out the Department of Sport Facebook page for more information. Hashtag sports matter, hashtag are you in?
To comment on the fact that the Minister of Education reacted immediately to what was circulating in social media or on social media pertaining to the vacation allowance of teachers and set the trend and give clarification to the fact that subsidies were already paid in the lump sum subsidy scheme to the different school boards for the vacation allowance. It became, of course, a question that was very worrisome for a number of our members when they learned of this on social media. Now, to this present moment, no school boards approached the Windward Islands Teachers Union to express their inability and non-availability of funds to pay the vacation allowance. So, of course, when this was circulated on social media, we thought it was quite strange, but we appreciate the fact that the minister reacted immediately, and from our members, at least at one school board that was mentioned in the article, which is our members at Sober, we got a confirmation that they will be paid their vacation allowance by that school board. Until now, the St. Martin Academy board has not reacted, neither to their teachers nor to the union on this matter. But it is an obligation of the school boards to pay. So basically, we will continue to monitor the situation as such. And for now, our members can rest assured that they would have to be forthcoming with this payment within the next 2 weeks. In addition, the pension reform law was in Parliament about 2 weeks ago, and Parliament recommended to the Minister of Personnel and General Affairs that this law goes back to the drawing board, and then that the unions are again included in the deliberation, and that certain points should be taken up in the law. Well, 2 weeks after, as of today, up to now, the unions were not contacted, neither to sit in a committee or to brainstorm or consult with what has to be done in that reform pension law. The minister was very concerned because she had to meet a deadline. But as union, I am not seeing the seriousness in actually going back and sitting down as was recommended by Parliament. I really, really hope that this can happen as soon as possible, because the recommendation came that it should go back to the Central Committee. It makes no sense to present the same law without the changes in the Central Committee and then have Parliament vote down this law. That would again be wasting time instead of coming together and having the adjustments done properly this time so that everyone can live with the reform of the pension fund. We noted that in the Netherlands, that is also what happened with the reform. It was sent back to the table. So basically, we are on the same page. This law was sent back to the table because we have to ensure that people's rights, the Bill of Rights, has also to be covered, and that people do not end up losing rights. As a matter of fact, there is jurisprudence in certain matters, and therefore that has to happen. I am only bringing it up so that everyone can be aware of the fact that 3 weeks already has elapsed and nothing, no action from the side of the cabinet or from the side of personnel affairs, nor from the side of APS to the unions pertaining to this aspect.